That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife died of cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
And so to hear people say things that are just crazy, like I'm a part of a cabal and there's a whole conspiracy with children, that stuff makes me sad.
I can say what I want, you can say you're offended, I can care or not.
When Ricky Gervais walked onto that Golden Globe stage in 2020, the world thought he was just roasting celebrities for fun. But if you look at the names he called out, the jokes he made, and the panic that flashed across certain faces in that room, especially Tom Hanks, it becomes clear that Ricky wasn't just being edgy. He was delivering a warning. And 4 years later, as the Epstein files continue to leak and Hollywood's most powerful figures scramble to Europe, we're starting to realize something far more disturbing. Epstein might be gone, but his network, it didn't disappear, it evolved. And according to mounting evidence, there's a new handler running the show. Someone who was always in plain sight. Someone Ricky hinted at that night. Someone whose name appears over 100 times in the Epstein documents. But here's what nobody is connecting yet. Let's rewind. January 2020. The Golden Globes. Ricky Gervais is hosting for the 5th time, and by now, Hollywood knows what to expect. He's going to roast them. He's going to make them uncomfortable. But this time, it's different, because just 5 months earlier, Jeffrey Epstein had died in a Manhattan jail cell, under circumstances so suspicious that even mainstream outlets couldn't ignore it. The official story? Suicide. But the timing? Convenient. Epstein had been arrested on federal charges. He was facing trial, and everyone knew that if he testified, he was going to name names, big names, billionaires, politicians, A-list celebrities, people who had spent decades hiding behind wealth, power, and carefully managed public images. But then, suddenly, he was gone, and with him, the chance for public testimony. Except the files didn't disappear. Investigators had already seized hard drives, flight logs, emails, phone records, and witness statements from Epstein's properties. The Department of Justice had compiled thousands of pages of documents. But here's the problem. Most of those files remain sealed, redacted, or withheld entirely. And the portions that have been released, they've been strategically sanitized. Names have been blacked out. Context has been removed. The message is clear. Someone or something is being protected.
The Department of Justice has released so far, and the manner in which it did so makes one thing clear: someone or something is being protected.
So when Ricky Gervais stepped onto that stage and started firing off jokes about pedophile movies, Prince Andrew, and Jeffrey Epstein, he wasn't just being provocative. He was calling out a system that was actively covering its tracks. And the people sitting in that audience, they knew it. You could see it on their faces. The nervous laughter, the awkward silence. And then, of course, Tom Hanks, America's dad, the wholesome everyman, looking like he'd just seen a ghost.
Talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care.
Now, let's talk about what Ricky didn't say that night. Because while everyone was focused on his Epstein joke, his Prince Andrew reference, and his jabs at Leo DiCaprio's dating habits, there was one name he circled around without ever directly naming. Someone who had been embedded in Hollywood's power structure for decades. Someone who had personal relationships with Harvey Weinstein, John of God, and yes, Jeffrey Epstein. Someone whose name appears in the unsealed documents more than 100 times: Oprah Winfrey. Now, before you dismiss this as conspiracy theory nonsense, let's look at the facts. Oprah has spent her entire career positioning herself as a champion of women, a voice for the voiceless, a moral authority. She's been untouchable. But as the Epstein investigation has expanded, the cracks in that image have started to show. And they're not small cracks, they're seismic fractures. Let's start with John of God. For those who don't remember, John of God was a Brazilian spiritual healer who Oprah featured on her show multiple times. She called him a powerful medium. She told her audience, millions of people, that he had miraculous healing abilities. She gave him her full endorsement. And then, Years later, John of God was arrested and convicted of running a global child end operation. He was sentenced to 400 years in prison. Women came forward by the dozens, detailing horrific abuse that had been happening for decades. And Oprah? She went silent. No apology, no accountability, just silence.
And so to hear people say things that are just crazy, like I'm a part of a cabal and there's a whole conspiracy with children, that stuff makes me sad. It makes me sad more than anything that people would believe it.
But it gets worse, because it's not just John of God. According to model Kathy Noble, Oprah was allegedly used by Harvey Weinstein to lure her into a false sense of security. Noble claims that meeting Oprah at one of Weinstein's events made her believe that Weinstein was legitimate, that he had something amazing in store for her. She thought, if Oprah trusts him, he must be safe, and that trust was weaponized.
Oprah, Naomi, Rita, and Georgina, they all sat at his table. And for me, meeting Oprah was like, oh my God, like I would have thought that I would have to be someone who is established, who everyone would have had to know about before I was privileged enough to meet someone like Oprah. So that gave me so much confidence in him at the time.
And now, the Epstein files. According to recent reports, there's a document that contains a statement from a woman who claims Epstein offered her money for babies. And in that same document, there's a direct connection drawn between Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Oprah Winfrey. Her name doesn't just appear once or twice. It appears over 100 times across various documents: flight logs, event lists, witness statements, email exchanges. This isn't circumstantial. This is documented. So here's the question. If Oprah was just an innocent bystander, why is her name woven so deeply into the Epstein network? Why did she have relationships with multiple convicted predators? And why, when questions started circulating, did she go completely silent? Because here's what Ricky Gervais understood that night. Hollywood doesn't just tolerate predators. It protects them. It elevates them. It gives them platforms, awards, and influence. And when they get caught, the system doesn't collapse. It adapts. It finds new handlers, new facilitators, new power brokers who can keep the machine running. Epstein is gone, but his network didn't die with him. It just found new management.
I didn't go out there and break the law. It wasn't mental. Everything was justified. I researched those jokes. I made sure it was fair. I wouldn't say anything to go, well, that's not fair. He didn't do that. I'd go, only tell the truth. I didn't out anyone. I didn't do anything it was not in public. I didn't do anything that was something they couldn't help. It was about their behavior.
Now let's talk about the exodus, because what's happening right now in Hollywood isn't normal. This isn't just a few celebrities deciding to retire or relocate. This is a mass evacuation, and the timing is extremely suspicious. Richard Gere sold his massive Connecticut estate at a $3.5 million loss and moved to Spain. His team claimed it was to be closer to his wife's family, but the sale happened just weeks before a major Epstein document drop. Rosie O'Donnell packed up and moved to Ireland. Permanently, she's publicly stated she's never coming back to the United States. Eva Longoria has been quietly reducing the price on her Beverly Hills mansion and splitting time between Spain and Mexico. Eva Mendes relocated to London with Ryan Gosling. Ellen DeGeneres fled to the Cotswolds in England and put her Montecito home on the market. And here's the kicker. All of these people have ties to the same circles, the same parties, the same power brokers, and they're all moving to countries with different legal systems and extradition treaties. That's not a coincidence. That's a strategy.
Ellen DeGeneres has reportedly fled the United States for England. She's running from her HR department. A source close to Ellen and her wife, Portia de Rossi, told The Wrap that the couple has placed their Montecito home on the market and have decided to relocate to the Cotswolds in England.
And then there's Jay-Z and Beyonce. Recently, they've lost a combined 10 million followers across their social media platforms. And the timing lines up with mentions in a 2019 FBI crisis intake report related to the Epstein investigation. According to that report, an unknown woman called the FBI and claimed that around 1996, she was taken from her home and woke up in what she believed was Epstein's Florida mansion. She said she was in a room with two people, Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z. She claimed that Weinstein assaulted her while Jay-Z was present. Now, Jay-Z has denied everything. His his team has dismissed the claims, but the report exists. It's in the FBI files, and the public is starting to connect the dots. Leonardo DiCaprio is another name that keeps coming up. Ricky has been roasting him for years over his dating patterns, always under 25. But it's deeper than that. DiCaprio's name appears in the Epstein files multiple times, including in an email where Epstein allegedly tried to arrange a dinner between DiCaprio and Woody Allen. Leo's team denies he ever went to the island or knew Epstein personally, but the documents suggest otherwise. And the files we've seen, they're still heavily redacted. So the question is, what's in the sections we haven't been allowed to see?
Once upon a time in Hollywood, even Prince Andrew's like, come on, Leo, mate, you know, you're nearly 50, son.
And Tom Hanks, America's most beloved actor. The guy who built his career on playing wholesome, relatable characters. When Ricky made that Epstein joke, Hanks looked terrified, and within hours, people found a 2013 email from Hollywood publicist Peggy Siegel to Epstein himself, mentioning Tom Hanks. The email referenced Hanks being on that infamous island and asked Epstein to pass on a personal message to the actor. Hanks's team has denied everything, but the email exists, and shortly after the Golden Globes, Hanks started canceling public appearances, pulling out of Q&As, and going silent in a way that didn't match his usual public persona.
Tom Hanks has been very silent.
Yeah.
And, I don't blame him.
So here's what we're looking at. Epstein is dead, but his network is alive. The files are being released in waves, heavily redacted, strategically timed, and the people who were part of that world, whether as participants, enablers, or silent bystanders, are now scrambling. Some are fleeing, some are going silent, some are scrubbing their digital footprints and hiring crisis PR teams, and some, like Oprah, are playing the victim, acting shocked that anyone would dare question their involvement. But Ricky Gervais wasn't shocked. He saw this coming. He's been calling it out for years, and that Golden Globes monologue wasn't just a roast. It was a roadmap. He named the system, he named the behaviors, and he named the people who had spent decades hiding behind philanthropy, activism, and carefully curated public images.
If you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg.
Because here's the truth that Hollywood doesn't want you to understand. The people on that stage aren't better than you. They're not more moral. They're not more informed. They're just richer. And that wealth has bought them protection. It's bought them silence. It's bought them the ability to commit or enable horrific acts without ever facing consequences. But the files are coming, the redactions are being challenged, and the public is waking up. People are starting to ask the right questions. Why did Oprah endorse multiple convicted predators? Why are so many A-listers suddenly relocating to Europe? Why do the Epstein documents keep mentioning the same names over and over again? And why, when confronted, do these people go silent instead of defending themselves? The answer is simple: because they can't. Because the truth is worse than the rumors. And because Ricky Gervais was right all along. Epstein didn't kill himself, and his network didn't die with him. It just found a new handler. Someone who's been hiding in plain sight. Someone who built an empire on trust, influence, and access. Someone whose name is buried in those files over 100 times. And Ricky, I know who you are. I know what you've done. And I don't care if you're offended.
Likewise, I know people are allowed to be offended by things I've said. That's up to them. That's the good thing about freedom of speech. I can say what I want. You can say you're offended. I can care or not.
So the question now is, what happens when the rest of those files are released? What happens when the redactions are removed? What happens when the public finally sees the full scope of who was involved, who knew, and who stayed silent? Because this isn't over. This is just the beginning.